Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Watson, and I'm Tualatin Valley Water District's Communications and Public Affairs Supervisor. It's my pleasure today to welcome you to the first Talking Water of 2022. We want to thank you for taking time to attend today. The topic that we're going to be discussing is the 209th and Farmington Facility Project. And we'd just like to go over a couple of the procedures here. We do start with a brief presentation and then we close out with a Q&A. And for those of you that have not joined one of these events before, we do allow you to type your questions in, and there's a little thought bubble with a question mark. If you're on the app or a computer, you're able to access that feature. If you are calling in today, you won't be able to do that, but if you raise your hand, we can try to get your question relayed that way. We also wanted to remind you that we do record these sessions and they are available for viewing in the future. We are a government agency. We operate as a special district. Our sole purpose is to provide quality drinking water to our communities, and we are very proud to do that for you. We do just also remind you, as a matter of our anti-discrimination processes, that we do ask that you keep profanities and those kind of discriminatory speech out of any of your questions. If that is included, we're unable to publish that. And then we also ask for your patience and understanding. The way this works is you'll type in your question and our staff is reviewing that and publishing those. Many of us have many roles on these events, so it may take us a few minutes to do that part of the process, so you don't need to type your question in more than once, and then we will take those at the end. And that's kind of a moderated format. So we are so happy to have you today. Thanks for coming by and learning more about the 209th and Farmington facility. And it is my pleasure to be welcoming our experts today. We have 3 presenters, and then we have a number of other experts on the call. If your questions take us in another direction, we'll do our best to answer those. And if we're not able to do that, we'll follow up with you after the event. So our host today is Tom Hickman. Tom is our Chief Executive Officer, and he joined TVWD in 2019. And he's brings a lot of experience from the city of Bend, as well as consultant work on major projects. And we're really happy to have him here during this time when we're doing a lot of capital investments. Then we also have Andrew Barrett, and he is also a professional engineer. Andrew has over 20 years of experience, and he graduated from OIT in 2002, and he worked for about 5 years in the private sector before he joined the city of Beaverton, where he did project engineering there as well. And then he came to TVWD in August of 2017. So we're really happy to have him for 5 years, and he does capital projects from start to finish. So he's been involved in the Grabhorn Reservoir project, as well as a lot of large main replacements, as well as the project they're going to talk to you about today. And then our final introduction for the experts with us today as presenters are Justin Dyke. He's the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator here at TVWD. He joined us about 3 years ago, and he has marketing and campaign management experience, primarily working with communications agencies and Solar World. So he leads the district's construction outreach, as well as he's been a vital member and leader of the district's Customer Emergency Assistance Committee that's been working on the financial response during COVID-19. So again, we want to thank you for joining us today, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Tom, Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it very much. So we're excited to share with you today this project, the Farmington 209th. Can you advance one slide, I think? So just a high level was the point of this project is really it's a critical piece for us to tie into the new Willamette water supply. And when we started looking at this, we initially estimated that the cost of this project was going to be in the neighborhood of about $10 million. And as our team worked on this, One of the amazing things is that the price went up significantly during the process as they were looking at it. And they sat down and took a hard look at this and made some modifications to this, and were able to slash the price well down below budget. And it's something that we do all the time, but it's not often recognized. And I just wanted to point out that our team has done an amazing job on this to keep this project within the budget and still achieve all the objectives that we are trying to achieve with this project. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Andrew Barrett, our engineer on this project. He has been leading this effort, and we are very proud to have him on the team. And Andrew, take it away.
All right, this is the 209th and Farmington project. I'll just touch on a little bit of the overview, as Tom mentioned, and then hand it over to Justin. We're going to kind of tag team the presentation so folks don't have to suffer listening to me over and over. Again, the overall point of this project was to meet a couple of needs, and one of the primary ones was to have a connection point to the Willamette water supply system, which comes in at a higher pressure than the TVWD system. We needed a way to break that pressure, but we also had to provide some fluoride injection as TVWD has a water system for this part of our district that has fluoride in it. And to do that, we like to keep our facilities above ground so they're very safe and easy to operate. We were going to end up with a single-story brick building that's got most of our equipment enclosed in it where it's protected from the elements. And with that, Justin, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. So yeah, like Tom and Andrew had said, this project, as you can see a little rendering there on the left side of the screen, as we go through today's slides, we're going to start at a really high level of the overview, and we'll work our way down to more structured details of what this project and its construction will look like. So kind of follow along a little bit of a story with us today. We'll be developing a previously unused lot to become a water system operations building. Primary goal, first and foremost, is to receive incoming water from the future Willamette water supply system. This site will end up being one of 3 of our connection points between the Willamette water supply system and TVWD's distribution system. And it will provide flow control via operating modes and valving to really adjust the amount of water that we take from the Willamette water system to meet single daily needs for our customers, and as that need changes seasonally, annually, over long periods of time, this is the real operations center where that water adjustment will occur. And also, like Andrew said, we'll be fluoridating the incoming water as it enters TVWD's distribution system. Now, that's pretty high level stuff. Really, what's going on here is going to be a single story brick building that will enclose that water system equipment. It'll be similar in size to a single family home, and it'll have some on-site stormwater and landscaping improvements to really round out the rest of the property to bring it up to a better standard. And as with a lot of our water systems and water facility sites, there will be security fencing all the way around it, including our stormwater pond that will be on the site as well. And one of the big drivers of this project is, increasing the water system resiliency and our capabilities with how we use the water system, connecting it not only to the Willamette water supply, which is our future water system, but also having access to move water through the Joint Water Commission, the JWC, which is another co-owned water source that TVD is an owner of. And with this project, once it's commissioned and available to us, it'll improve our water system flexibility for our largest pressure zone. Now, the water system is divided up into pressure zones based on topography, and that area around 209th and Farmington that extends east and north really into that valley floor of the Aloha area is our largest single pressure zone for serving customers. And this project at 209th and Farmington will really greatly improve our ability to serve water in that area to these customers. A little bit of background about how we got to 209th and Farmington as the location and its project. And on the left side, you can see another aerial rendering of what the project will look like once it's done. So this is approximately an $8 million investment in the water system. It's fully funded from regular water bills. We always like to point out when our projects are like that, and vast majority of our projects are coming from the money that you and your fellow customers at TVWD pay every other month to your water bill, that money gets invested right back into the water system, into projects just like this. And the early project plan included a much more in-depth project. It was having a pump station and a lot of off-site water main piping all the way up to the summit of Cooper Mountain. And as Tom had alluded to earlier, there were a lot of cost escalations. We ended up pausing our design, and the cost for this project had nearly doubled from the original budget estimates. Now, at that point, in the best interests of financial management and our customers' money that you paid in those water bills, we decided to do a full reevaluation and a scope reduction and really trim this project down to the essential needs to connect to the Willamette water supply, as that is the single most important thing about the 209th and Farmington site. Now that leaves us in a place where we do frankly need to continue working on the Cooper Mountain water system improvements. Right now, we have a single means to get water to the summit of Cooper Mountain, and that single pathway needs upgrades. So the current reservoirs and the pump stations that move that water from the valley floor up to the top of Cooper Mountain can't be updated or improved and solidified until we have that second source of water to get that water from the valley floor all the way to the top. And that's where our engineering and project team came into a cost-conscious collaboration with the city of Beaverton. There will be a future project in the coming year or so called the Kemmer Intertie that will connect a TVWD reservoir and Beaverton reservoirs that are on Kemmer Road for mutual benefit. The TVWD reservoirs are really close to the Cooper Mountain Nature Park just across the street, and the Beaverton reservoirs just down Kemmer Road. It's a perfect location. Connecting these two reservoirs will eventually provide a needed second source of water for the TVWD Cooper Mountain area, and that will be what enables the improvements at the current reservoirs and pump stations that we are so interested in doing. And also, this collaboration with the city of Beaverton creates a $3 million cost reduction in the 209th and Farmington project by removing that need for additional pump stations and significantly more offsite piping. So for those of you who have been around some of our previous meetings on 209th and Farmington back a couple years, that was a large talking point, was the need for that pumping capacity and the offsite piping. Now, this project has changed a lot since then. So I'm going to pass this back over to Andrew to talk a little bit more about exactly where in the district we are and what we're going to be doing.
Thanks, Justin. So yeah, as Justin mentioned, I'll be pointing out some maps, some of the locations, and some of the options that we had for reducing some of the scope and the price of this project. For those who aren't familiar, we are down in the southwest corner of the district at 209th and Farmington, which you can kind of see is indicated in that red area. That is one of our critical locations to connect to the Willamette supply. Now, the Willamette supply is shown as that golden or that yellow line going north and south. On Rosedale, there is a yellow line or gold line that is moving out towards the Farmington fluoride facility. So that is the connection point to the Willamette water supply system. When we initially developed the scope for the Farmington pump station project, we were going to try to do as much as we could at that facility to try to save and the district money and make the best use of district facilities, including land and also dollars to get the most bang for our buck. So what we're trying to do was one, have that important connection to the Willamette water supply system, have the fluoride injection. Because we, as Justin mentioned, knew that we wanted a second resilient connection to the top of Cooper Mountain via pumping, put a pump station there. We were looking to have a PRV to allow higher pressure from the Willamette directly connect to the TVWD system at a lower pressure. But we also wanted the ability to pass through some of that higher pressure to an ASR that's at the same location as the Grabhorn Reservoir. Unfortunately, the Grabhorn ASR is like 20 to 30 feet higher than the overflow for the Grabhorn Reservoir, which means that the standard pressure that we have essentially will not be able to push water in there. So that's a tall order for one facility to do, but that was what our initial goal was. But as we talked about, to get there, we'd have to install, there's a little bit of black piping that is coming out of the Farmington fluoride facility headed towards Grabhorn Reservoir. We'd have to install some of the blue piping from the Grabhorn Reservoir all the way out and down to the Cooper Mountain Reservoir. We started looking at those costs, and the cost just grew and grew. And when the COVID-19 caused supply chain issues, costs continued to go just in the wrong direction. We decided it was time to stop and take a look at other ways to meet some of these goals. And we believe that the best approach to save money and make the project more viable would be to actually connect the Beaverton Cooper Mountain Reservoir and TBWD's Cooper Mountain Reservoir. As you can see in the bottom right corner of the picture, we would install lines shown in the black dotted lines. And so we're asking a lot of this facility, but essentially we believe we can achieve all of the initial project goals by doing a slightly changed project. So can you go to that next slide, Justin? Here we've got the layout of the building. We're going to have the facility that's a single-story building. You can see the drive access with the vehicle on it. We do essentially have the Willamette Water Supply access vault. That is the connection to the Willamette Water Supply system that we've got. A couple things that would be noted is you can see the public sidewalk to help allow pedestrian connectivity through our site into one of the neighboring sites. And then we have a stormwater detention pond. And next slide. So this is sort of what the inside of the facility looks like. This is a nearby facility. This is actually the Grabhorn valve house. But to really make the system operate the way that we need it to, we'd have around 50 feet of piping above ground. And the smaller of the two dark blue valves, if you guys can see those, that is a PRV valve. And we will have one of those PRV valves that will allow the higher pressure Willamette water to go across that valve and then directly into the TBWD system while reducing pressure. Those valves are kind of neat. There's basically a big spring inside that the water, higher pressure water, has to push up to get out. And when it does that, that spring takes some of the pressure out. So inside the facility, we also have SCADA controls. We'll have the fluoride injection that we monitor and dose very carefully to make sure that we're meeting our regulatory requirements. So next slide. And I think this is back to you, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Andrew. So with this project, we have been talking a little bit about the need for off-site water mains to connect the actual physical location in the Willamette connection into the TBWD distribution system. So back in November, we started installing those off-site water mains. We've been really successful working with our contractor, getting those nearly finished right now. So we've got a 16 and a 24-inch new water mains that go across Farmington Road, and they connect to existing water mains that serve the larger Farmington Road area. And we installed a new 24-inch main up Grabhorn Road to Leland Drive. Leland, for those, because it is a kind of a small residential street, it's directly across from the Jennings Estate that THPRD manages there. And we didn't have to go any further than that because we had an existing 24-inch water main installed under Leland Drive in 2018. And Andrew was a part of that project team to replace the Grabhorn Reservoir just up the hill there. And at that point, we had anticipated this project would be coming in a short time frame and installed the 24-inch water main under Leland Drive and left it there capped and ready to meet with this new main that went up Grabhorn, really able to reduce the construction impact of that neighborhood. It is, you know, a fairly standard, quiet residential street, and we didn't want to go disturbing it and tearing it up again twice in such a short time span. Current status of the offsite water mains is really close to complete, 97% almost done. We've been doing pressure testing and disinfection, which was completed just last week, and the new water mains are connected to the water system. And we'll be waiting on that last bit for permanent road restoration this spring. Definitely weather dependent. Road paving in Oregon can be tricky sometimes, need 45 degrees, dry and warming temperatures, which is not often a long or really wide window for us here in Oregon. And one thing we always like to talk about is what's it like to be a neighbor of TBWD. So in full transparency, you know, developing our sites from the way they look now, vacant, unused field, into what they're going to become really is the most impactful stage of being a neighbor with us. Once our sites are commissioned and running and going through daily operations, we tend to be pretty proud that we're a good neighbor. We try our best. What that looks like on a typical activity is water operator site visits. Every day, 365 days a year, a certified water operator will conduct a daily required inspection of the operations building. That is required by OHA because this is a facility that will be adding fluoride to the water system. So this is typically 1 or 2 operators, often even just a single regular pickup truck. And this is something that we do often really without any other notice because it is such a quiet operation. An operator will get into the site, enter the building, do their inspections, and make their notes, file their report, and go about the rest of their daily rounds. And we do have grounds teams. They manage our exterior site maintenance, and that changes a lot seasonally. So we estimate about weekly visits in the summer and the fall, and about monthly visits during the winter and spring. Of course, after large storms or anything like that, you'll see our grounds teams come around more often, making sure that we're doing our proper upkeep. Trees haven't fallen down, fences are still in good shape, and a lot of more in-detailed work about building security management, security maintenance, and that kind of stuff. Often this is done with small teams and individuals, pickup trucks or small dump trucks for things like spreading bark chips, and a lot of other tasks are the typical vehicles. And we do get deliveries for materials occasionally. Box trucks most often used. You'll see the box truck in the rendering there on the left, trying to give that building also some scale. And one note we often like to point out is the TVWD field staff may use this facility as a parking area to fill out reports or occasionally take a lunch break. We do have a lot of field staff, and they often are working outdoors in the elements every day. So if there is a TVWD facility nearby where their work site is or where their rounds are for the day, they are encouraged to go ahead and use that parking pad to get out of the field, out of the rain, and file their reports in a safe place, eat a lunch if they need to, that kind of stuff. So you will see TVWD staff around the site every day, but we're real quiet, and we tend to just do our work and go about our business. I'm sure this is what everyone's been looking forward to knowing is a construction schedule. And right off the bat, we'll just go ahead and say it. This is estimated. We do expect changes and refinements to this. Now's a great time to plug our website to go and sign up for email updates, which is where we'll be announcing those schedule changes and those refinements. So moving from left to right, first stage is going to be site prep and a lot of earthwork. We're estimating about 2 months of this after permits are issued, and this is going to be a pretty impactful section of the project. Large equipment making noise and vibration is to be expected, and this is because we'll be bringing the project site grade up to closely match the roadways. If you were to go for a walk right now near that intersection of 209th and Farmington, you would notice that our project site really dips down a bit from the sidewalk level. So we're going to bring up that grade closer match of the roadways. In the middle there, building construction and on-site piping. This is definitely the most interactive section of the project. About 10 months with a bulk of our work ranging from things like, you can see there, on-site piping, bringing in all the off-site water mains to set up everything that'll be inside the building, all the way through electrical, security, all sorts of stuff. The local impact right around the project location will change based on the current work, which also means this is when we will send our most frequent project updates about what to expect and when to expect it if you live or travel near and around this location. And the final stage, punch list and commissioning, about 3 months, estimated about a year from now. And part of this stage is also bringing in all of our certified operators to get them trained up, comfortable with everything about how this site operates and functions, so that when we take ownership of it from the contractor, we are ready to integrate it into the water system and take full advantage of its capabilities. And as we wrap up today, we definitely want to offer some ways for everyone to keep in touch with us, especially because for those of you who live near the site, we will be your neighbor here soon. Project website is tvwd.org/Farmington. So we've got project information in there. We've got a virtual open house. You can sign up for email updates, and all the renderings that you saw in today's presentation are there in full screen, so you can check those out as well. And with that, it's your turn. Type in any questions you've got into the Q&A chat, and I'll turn this over to Andrea to help us with the questions.
Well, thank you to all of our presenters. We really appreciate this detailed information that Andrew and Justin were able to provide, as well as the context that CEO Tom Hickman was able to offer at the intro. So we have a number of questions that have come in, and we're going to kick it off with a number of these that are going to go to Andrew Barrett, the project engineer. Gail wants to know, with the scope reduction, were necessary improvements put on hold, or were they shunted over to another project?
They were pushed to another project, and Justin, you want to move to the, I can get in more detail here. You want to move to the map, the more detailed map? That would be awesome. But essentially, we had a large discharge main. It was 18-inch pipe. That was 10,000 feet long. We're going to end up installing, which think of it as the horizontal blue line that's just below where it says Goyak Reservoir. Most of that essentially is gone and will not be installed. Also, the pump facilities, the SCADA controls. I mean, there's millions of dollars worth of savings that we are not going to be installing at all. So in lieu of the black dash line. So the black dash line will be installed in lieu of all of that other work. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, the next question is kind of a similar type. This person is anonymous, but they want to know what sorts of things were cut out of the project to reduce the cost. So maybe you can kind of list those out. And are those, any of those that were cut out of the project, going to come back later at a greater cost?
I kind of mentioned some of the big ticket items that were cut out of the project were the pump station, the actual pumps, the pump headers, and I'm probably getting the weeds more than I should, but the discharge main for the pumps, the building was reduced in size. We decided that if for whatever reason, 50 or 100 years from now, we have to build this facility, which we're not planning on doing that. We did keep as much of the original layout as we could to ensure that there could be a retrofit done on that site, but those are the big ticket items that essentially are being removed from the project. So,
Andrew, if I could weigh in on it. So one of the things that you do all the time is after we come up with a project, we specify its goals. And then as we go through the design process, we're constantly evaluating whether or not the project is meeting those goals, correct? So one of the things that I think to answer the question is that while changes were made and cuts were made, we still are achieving all of the goals that were laid out for the intent of the project. So that's something that we do as standard practice, is defining what are the project objectives, and it's how we keep things like scope creep, things from kind of blowing up on us as we come back to that and look at those project objectives and say, are we still meeting these, and are there other ways to meet these? And that's exactly what Andrew and his team did, and that it resulted in cuts, but it was a very positive story, not in the sense of we're cutting and having to really pay for this in some other painful way by sacrificing what we were trying to achieve.
Are there any other experts who want to weigh in on this question before we move on? Okay, just as a reminder, we did have a number of people join after we started and gave the intro that if you do want to have your questions answered, there's a little thought bubble with a question mark on your app or your computer, and you can type your question in there, and then we will publish that and get it answered for you. We are scheduled to go into one, but just as a reminder for the programs for Talking Water, we do stay on here till all the questions are exhausted. We may end early, but we are also willing to stay late. So this is another question, Andrew, for you. Gail wants to know, you used a technical term in there somewhere, ASR. If you could say what that is and how we use it, she'd like to know that.
Okay, ASR stands for Aquifer Storage and Recovery. What that is there's a large municipal well that's been drilled very deep in the ground. That is one way that we store a very, very large amount of water. We essentially, in the rainy months, when we have extra water and very low demand, will pump water into the ground. And during the seasons of high demands, we'll actually turn around and pump that water out. So, and if anyone else wants to add on onto that, by all means, feel free. But that's generally what that refers to.
Andrew, I will real quick, just for further clarification, that ASR well already is existing and it is at the Grabhorn Reservoir. So it's a fully functional existing asset that the district maintains, and it being there at Grabhorn, it is in a close proximity to this 209th and Farmington project.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. This question is going to go to you, Tom. Our hack would like to know, with the 209th and Farmington project coming in under budget, will there be a commensurate decrease in the proposed higher water rates?
So I wish I could tell you absolutely, because from a logical perspective, if you're managing your home checkbook, that's kind of how it works, right? However, this is one project out of frankly dozens of projects that the district is undertaking. And so when we are looking at all of the projects that we are undertaking, unfortunately, we don't have the same kind of positive news to report that they're all coming in under budget. In fact, if you're following the news much at all with inflation rates and construction costs and costs of steel, costs of concrete, labor market, all those pieces, costs on these types of construction projects across the country are coming in quite a bit higher than what was estimated. So it's a long answer to a simple question, and as a result of all the projects that the district is undertaking and trying to maintain its strong financial position, we are not going to be able to lower water rates, unfortunately. In fact, we will have to continue to do rate increases in order to offset the higher costs that we've seen on many other projects.
Thanks,
Andrea,
Tom.
if I could just add something real quick to Tom's response. You might recall when Tom started the discussion of this presentation, this project was actually budgeted for about $10 million. And as the project moved forward, we saw a significant increase in the estimate that we were seeking. That is one of the reasons why we took a step back and did a value engineering, trying to figure out exactly how to bring the project back into the original budget. So while there has been cost savings, there really aren't all that big of a savings per se, because we just brought it to where it was supposed to be and not where it could have been. So just wanted to add that.
And Carrie, just to introduce yourself, Carrie Pack is our chief engineer.
Sorry, Carrie Pack.
Right.
Yeah, and thank you. And Carrie comes to us with over 30 plus years of experience. So we're really glad to have a lot of experts on the call that we don't introduce in the beginning. So if you do get called on to answer a question, please let our viewers know who you are and what your role is with the district. Thanks, Carrie. The next question is from Tony, and I think this one will go to Andrew Barrett. Tony wants to know what the significance of blue versus black piping is.
Blue versus black piping. I don't know if I can answer that right offhand. Typically, the piping that we as engineers deal with. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry, Andrew. I think he's referring to the blue and the black piping on the diagram.
Oh, thank you. The blue piping is, let's see here, that is above Farmington, and actually, I guess all of the blue piping is existing. The black piping that's shown, that essentially is stuff that we just finished installing. That was something that is required as a part of the Farmington fluoride facility. So as we move through installing it and getting it finalized, it'll switch to essentially a blue color. But that's kind of all that that was trying to show. So hopefully that answers your question.
And the yellow piping is what, or the gold?
The yellow or the gold, that is the Willamette water supply piping that shows where our connection point to the Willamette system is going to be, which, as you can see, it comes out and connects to the Farmington fluoride facility location. So.
Thanks, Andrew. Our next question is from Jerry. Jerry wants to know, is this on the Jennings Estate side or across the street? I think you'll be able to take that one also, Andrew.
Yeah, that is across the street from the Jennings Estate. The Jennings Estate is on the southwest corner of the intersection. This is on the northeast corner, so diagonal from Jennings Estates.
Thank you for all the great questions. We're getting a lot of them all at once, so please remember to be patient. We will get them published and answered here. The next question is going to go to Nick Augustus. This is the stormwater pool that you mentioned in the diagram of this project. Is this just for the stormwater on the premises or for the system? And then they also have added, you will have a SCADA at this facility. Can some metrics from the system be published fairly live with history? Examples would be pressure, flow, contaminants, as many as they can. So Nick, I know you typed some answers in there, but if you would like to take that question and any other experts want to add, that'd be great.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nick Augustus. I'm the engineering division manager. And I attempted to answer it in writing there, but yeah, the stormwater pond that we're planning to put in, that is just to address on-site stormwater impacts. So that'll take care of any additional runoff we might see from the building we're putting on there and the little the roadway that goes through the site. And then as far as SCADA at the facility, yes, we will have SCADA, and it does record pressure, flow at the site, and we will have different water quality monitoring equipment on site. Unfortunately, because of security, we don't normally publish that live, and we kind of keep that close to home for obvious reasons to keep the water system safe. So hope that answered the question.
Okay, anyone else want to add to that? Okay, there was a lot in there. Great questions, you guys. We really appreciate your time and making the questions. Part of it is really important for these events so we can address the needs that you have to know more about your water system. So the next question, I see accommodations for pedestrians, but what about cyclists? And I think, Andrew, if you want to take this, and Nick, if you want to add on anything, we think that's the right experts for that one.
Sure. Justin, do you mind going to the rendering that shows the site? We are essentially installing sidewalks for the residential area. As far as cyclist accommodations, you can see the aerial image that's underlaid. There's already bike lanes that have been installed on Farmington and on 209th. So there really shouldn't have to be significant improvements beyond what's there. I apologize, I can't remember, but recently this intersection was upgraded through Washington County's MSTIP program. So we're not essentially doing anything beyond what's already out there on the site, but there are facilities that exist along our site frontage.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, and I'm sorry, we got so many great questions. I don't have someone identified to take this one, but how was the contractor selected? So I don't know which of you were involved in the contractor selection process, but we'll let you sort that out if you could answer that.
I'll handle that one. Essentially, this is a CMGC contract, but at the end of the day, we did a competitive bid process that did require some qualifications to make sure that we are hiring a contractor that is competent in construction on the site. So, I mean, it is a competitive bid project, so.
Okay, great. The next question is from Barbara. She wants to know when the switch over to the Willamette water system will occur. So I don't know, Tom or Carrie, if you want to tackle that one.
I'm sure Carrie could, and so could Dave Kraska. But I'll just say our plan right now is July of 2026 that we would be switching over. So Carrie or Dave, if you have any additional detail, please feel free to chime in.
So I will just add that, this is Carrie Pack again, I'll just add that some portions of the project will be done before 2026. And we'll be doing a lot of work in what we call commissioning to make sure that the new system is meeting the standards that we are accustomed to, and to make sure that we have safe drinking water that are going to be provided to our customers. So we'll be doing a lot of work before July 1st of 2021, but that date is basically the cutoff date at which we will completely switch over to Willamette Supply. Dave, did you want to add anything? I got the perfect sign, so.
Yeah, so Dave Kraska, Willamette Water Supply Program Director. Yeah, I support everything that Carrie and Tom said. The only tweak I'd say is no later than the date that Tom said. So it could be sooner than that, as per scheduled, if we stay on track, which we are intending and planning, and so far have succeeded on staying on schedule. So that's the current plan to date. Hopefully I didn't confuse anything. Thanks.
Thank you. I just also would like to add that there are a significant number of projects related to the Willamette water supply that are taking place, and you can visit ourreliablewater.org and get us there to have information about traffic impacts. As that project, gets closer to completion, there's going to be a lot of activity going on from, all the way from Wilsonville up into the TVWD and Hillsborough water systems. So just as a reminder, the next question we're going to give to Pete Boone, and this is about the Miller Hill ASR, asking if the Miller Hill ASR is in the system.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So my name's Pete Boone. I'm the Water Operations Division Manager here at TVWD. So I get to work with the folks who operate and maintain our water system, and we'll be taking over this new 209th and Farmington facility in a couple of years. So we're excited for that. The question about the Miller Hill ASR. So Miller Hill is our second ASR facility, aquifer storage and recovery, in addition to the Grabhorn site that's very near this particular project. So on the map, it's near the south end, the bottom of that graph. It's near the top of Cooper Mountain, located, as you might guess, on Miller Hill Road. It is connected to the water system. It's not currently online. We do expect to be bringing that online in the next couple of years, and that'll give us another source of supply up here on Cooper Mountain, which is a really, really critical part of our system, a great spot to be able to produce water and send it to our customers.
Thanks, Pete. The next question is, will we see any changes in our current water pressure once this system is fully operational? And I'm going to maybe Peter Andrew on this one.
Thanks, Andrea. I'll take this one. No, you will not see any change in water pressure.
Wow, that was fast. Okay, the next question is, what are the primary costs in the lifetime of the facility like this? Or is it upfront in construction? So we're going to just elaborate on that a little bit and clarify that we want to answer this in regards to life cycle versus capital. And if that's not exactly what you meant in your question, if you could put some more detail in the chat, we'll tackle that. But we think that's the essence of your question. And if Andrew or Carrie want to take that one.
I'll take a stab at it here. The primary costs essentially on this are going to be capital. There are some life cycle costs with any facility that requires operators to go out every day and see what's happening in the facility. But also there are components that do need to be changed out. Water quality analyzers, just to check to see that the water quality is operating or is within the acceptable range. There are some components out there, but they are relatively, actually they're very minimal compared to the upfront capital cost. And then I will open the floor to anyone who wants to correct or clarify or add. So
I will just add that this is something we do evaluate when we look at these kinds of things, is this issue of your capital cost versus your life cycle cost. There is when you look at life cycle costs, the other component here is your energy costs, right? Your ongoing energy costs for any pumping or anything like that. But that's what makes this facility. This is more of a lot of pressure reducing valve, so it's not energy intensive. But that is something with all of our facilities we consider, is those life cycle costs versus capital costs, because you typically, your life cycle costs over time do dwarf that capital investment. And in this case, although I think this is a pretty minimal operational facility.
Okay, thank you, Andrew and Tom. The next question is in regard to some of the content from earlier, where Justin and the slide stated there'd be loud noises and vibrations during the site preparation after permits are issued, in quotes. As we're already experiencing a lot of loud noises and our buildings shaking, should we assume that TVWD has obtained those permits already? So Andrew, do you want to take that one?
Sure. We are in process of obtaining those permits. We are submitting and ensuring that we have dotted all the I's and crossed the T's. We are expecting the first set of permits to be issued within about a month to 2 months. With that being said, there are things that are out of our control, including the workload at the county. So, but we are expecting that to come rather quickly. And I'll open the floor to anyone else who wants to add anything.
I'll just add a little bit onto that. We are doing some work out there. As Andrew talked about earlier, the Willamette supply pipeline enters the site, and they are finishing up the vaults on site where the terminus is of the Willamette water supply system. And we've also, actually, as of last week, I believe, we completed the offsite piping for this project. So there was some piping necessary in the figure that's up, the black piping that leaves the site that heads up to Leland Road. That piping is installed now. But our major grading and on-site work will continue following the receipt of the other permits.
Okay, thanks, Andrew and Nick. The next question is, what are the seismic standards the new water system has been designed to? So maybe Andrew and Nick, and then to close that question out, Dave Kraska will talk about the seismic standards for the Willamette Water Supply Program.
Nick, I might rely on you if you're willing to answer that. I think you've been more involved with the development of those than I have been, so.
Sure, and it'll be very similar to what you'll hear from Dave Kraska. We've actually adopted internally the standards set up by the Willamette Water Supply System. And so we are designing facilities such as this to meet the 2475-year seismic event, which is a Cascadia subduction zone level event, but plan to be able to serve water following an event such as that. I don't know, Dave, if you had anything else there.
Not too much to add. I'd say the approach that we've taken on the Willamette Water Supply System is anticipating that this is infrastructure that's supposed to last 100 years or so. And so with that, we have to be thinking ahead in terms of what is the latest technology and knowledge in terms of understanding seismic events and using and applying state-of-the-art modeling and design techniques and construction techniques in order to make sure that it meets that standard. When I say the term seismic standards, I think building code, and oftentimes building codes can lag the current knowledge, and so we're going beyond that in terms of making a meaningful investment into this new water supply. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. And the next question is more of a comment. Melody wanted to thank us for making this available. Great speakers, presentation, and consuming resources for staff for our benefit. Looks forward to more. So just want to throw it out there that if anyone on this call or event would like to suggest a topic, this particular topic was suggested. We are always open to hearing that because we really do want these events to be engaging and two-way and really meet the needs that our customers have to learn more about their water system. The next question is from Tony. Is the fencing planned for the entire perimeter of the property? If not, where will it appear? My interest is based on safety considerations, especially with the detention pond as an attraction for kids and critters. Also, is it designed as a cyclone fence or some other material?
I'll handle this one. The site will essentially be fully enclosed, including the detention pond. There is an exception that the walking path will essentially not have a fence across it because that would defeat the purpose. But we are going to enclose the storm detention pond, and it will be a black vinyl clad chain link fence. So chain link fence that is black rather than a shiny powder coated fence. So.
Okay, great. And we are coming to the end of questions. So just as a reminder, if you do have any questions, we'd be happy to take them here, or you can contact us after this event and we will get you any answers we're able to provide. The last question in so far is the TVWD Water Master Plan published? Any TVWD Basin Groundwater Sustainability Plan? And they said, just letting us know, they're asking this out of curiosity, but I think that's a great question. And I honestly don't know who to give that to. So maybe Nick or Carrie?
Yeah, so I guess talking about our master plan, in 2015, we did a broad complete redo of our water system master plan, and we updated that in 2018 due to some various changes that happened in the district. It is not published right now. We kind of hold that I don't know, close to the belt a little bit for security purposes, but we can make that available if you're interested. But if we do not have any groundwater sustainability plan that I'm aware of.
So this is Carrie Pack, and I'll just add, we don't publish the master plan for just exactly what Nick just mentioned, the security reasons. We're not, we don't want to advertise where our facilities are for various potential nefarious acts. Having said that, if you're interested in your portion of the area, please email Andrea or put contact us, and we can definitely get you more educated, because I too am kind of curious about where my water comes from at home myself. So I think those are all curiosity questions that we can definitely address, but we don't publish our master plan just because we don't want to, announce where things are at. The groundwater sustainability plan, we don't have groundwater plan, but we do, as was mentioned earlier, we do have ASRs in the system, and those are registered with the Oregon Water Resources Department, and we report on how we use the ASRs on an annual basis. So if you'd like more information on that, again, get in touch with us, and we'll more than happy to share with you how we use that asset.
Thank you. We have a couple additional questions coming in. One is, will there be a substantial elevation difference between the TVWD site and the Madison Place condos? So Andrew, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, there will be an increase elevation for the TVWD site. It does change across our site. Just a rule of thumb that I've put out there is If you look at the sidewalk grades along Farmington, which, there's quite a bit of elevation change from the west side of the sidewalk on Farmington to the east side. But that's kind of an indication of what's going to happen with the ground. So I would say that we're going to fill in, 4 to 8 feet of elevation between the backyards of the Madison Place condos and the TVWD roadway. So.
Okay, we have an additional question. Will the taste of the water change?
As far as I know, the taste of the water will not change. I don't know. I assume this might be referring to when the Willamette water supply comes online. With this particular project, when it gets installed, there will be no taste change. And I don't know if anyone wants to talk about the Willamette water system.
This is Dave Kraska again. So in terms of there should be no significant change in the aesthetics of the water, or the appearance or the taste when we switch over to the Willamette water supply. There will be a difference in type of disinfectant for some of TVWD system. Some of TVWD system that receives water from the Portland Water Bureau, it's disinfected with what are called chloramines, which is a combination of chlorine and ammonia. And the water that's received from the west out in Forest Grove from the Joint Water Commission is disinfected with chlorine. Willamette water supply system water will also be disinfected with chlorine. So the folks that receive water primarily from the Joint Water Commission should see the water should be very similar in taste. It's chlorinated water. The folks that receive primarily water from Portland, it may be a slightly different taste because of the different disinfectant, but it'll be very, very slight. It's a similar sort of changeover that folks in Tigard went through when they switched over from Portland to the Lake Oswego Tigard project. So it's something that's been done before. And but that's so probably more information than you needed to know, but there is a potential for a slight difference, but again, very slight.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is Carrie Pack. I was going to say essentially same thing that Dave just said. One of the things that we learned from others that have gone through this process is that we can't tell you that it's going to be exactly the same, that there's not going to be any change at all. There will be a little bit of difference. What we can guarantee you is that the water is going to be safe and water is going to be available. So safe and plentiful is what we promise. It may be a little bit different, but it won't be to the point of being unsafe. So I just wanted to make sure that we meet the expectation, that we don't, set the expectation that it's going to be exactly the same water, because it will be different.
Thank you for everyone who jumped in on that question. Tom, we really have a tougher question for you at the end here. Will the water prices increase?
I won't beat around the bush. Yes, they will. Not as a result of this project specifically, but in large part, we are seeing significant increases on the Willamette water supply project costs. As I mentioned before, labor costs associated with construction, as well as steel and concrete prices, have all driven up project elements far beyond what we had anticipated. And we are working with our board. One of our board members is on the call, and looking at how we will pay for that, those increases. But the reality is we will have to increase rates in order to cover those costs. We've given presentations on this before. And maybe we can do that again. But one of the things to remember right now is we're in a major investment cycle with the Willamette project and some of these other projects. And during a major investment cycle, you see costs increase. We really do expect to see costs stabilize and our rates stabilize sometime after 2026, and we'll be in a much better position after 2026. But right now we're in the peak of a significant capital investment.
Okay, thank you. And we just again want to thank you for your time. That concludes the Q&A portion. If you want to sign us off, Tom, and again, thank Justin and Andrew for their presentation, and thank you for your time with us today.
And I just want to say thank you to everyone who attended. We appreciate it. We love hearing from you. So please, if there's topics of interest to you, even if there were ones we've covered before, but you have new insight or new questions about it, please let us know. We are passionate about what we do. We're passionate about the water system that you've all entrusted us to operate, and we are happy to communicate with you about what we do, how we do it, and educate everyone else. So please let us know if you have any specific interests, and thank you very much.